This is my first bet.
Oh my gosh.
I want $100,000.
Get out of here. $100,000 bet.
I want $100,000 on the Portland Trail Blazers to win the West. Get that done tomorrow. $100,000 on the Portland Trail Blazers to make it to the finals.
I told you, this the...
So Charles Barkley is going to lose $100,000. Well, at least he can afford it. And last season, Charles Barkley actually had a similar bet that the Blazers would sweep the Lakers in the first round, which had obviously not come to fruition. And Charles Barkley seems to be a gambling man, but he just doesn't seem to be very good at it. But since the Blazers acquired Dame Lillard back in the 2012 draft, they've been one of the best teams in the Western Conference. Their best year has been 2019, where they finished third in the Western Conference and went all the way to the Western Conference Finals. But this was only to get swept by the Warriors. But that was all their previous seasons, and I'm interested in what they can do this season. I believe this is now my 11th prediction video for an NBA team, so if you're enjoying this series, please like the video as it helps me out so much. And I've mainly just been doing prediction videos for the best teams in the NBA, so if you want to go and check out a specific team, I've probably done it. And then without further ado, let's just get right into it. So Dame Lillard is the star of this team, as we all know, and Dame has been a top 5 point guard in the league for a good few seasons now. He has recently though been spoke about as a top 10 player in the league and even the best point guard in the league. Although I disagree with him being the best point guard in the league, he is definitely a top 10 player and he's one of the best scorers in the league. Last season, he was one of only 3 players to average 30 points a game and with a very impressive field goal percentage of 56%. This was all while averaging 8 assists per game and a relatively low 2.9 turnovers a game. One thing I love about Dame though is he doesn't have to have a huge ego like a lot of NBA stars do. And the thing is, he just doesn't need to have an ego and can just let his game do the talking. And no better moment sums this up than his iconic buzzer beater against the OKC to send them home. And for this season, it should be Dame's best one yet, and he'll be a great leader for this team. Then let's talk about CJ McCollum, who has been Dame's number 2 as long as he's been in the league. And for the past 5 seasons now, he's averaged 21 points a game on 40% from 3, so it's hard to understand why he's never even been an All-Star, because if you look at his stats for the past 5 seasons, at least one of these he was good enough to be an All-Star. Well, this year could be his first year anyway, as he's averaging the most points, assists and steals of his career with the best 3-point percentage and field goal percentage of his entire career. He's shooting 11 threes a game, which is close to the most in the league currently, and when he's making 44% of these, he has the green light to shoot this many and even more. For me, CJ is super underrated at the moment, and hopefully he'll be rewarded with an All-Star selection this year, as it's thoroughly deserved. And now I want you to just think about who's the next most valuable player for the Portland Trail Blazers. Just have a think. Because there's a few different players you could go with, but I'm actually going to go with Jusuf Nurkic. He's a solid defensive centre and physically looks to be one of the biggest centres in the game. Unfortunately for Nurkic, he only played 8 games last season as he had a terrible injury and broke his leg. And I'm just going to show this clip in a second, so if you don't want to see that, just look away. And Nurkic has had a slow start to the season, but this is obviously due to the injury. And if you want to look back now, you can, the clip is gone. And as well as this, everything just seems to be against Nurkic, as 5 days ago he broke his wrist and he'll be out for about 8 weeks. This should at least give some more time though for his leg to fully heal, and hopefully when he's back he'll be right back to being the Bosnian beast that we all know. Now let's discuss Carmelo Anthony, who was once one of the best scorers in the league, but is now just a bench player. Since he left the Knicks, his career has really gone downhill, and mainly due to his age. After he was released from the Thunder, it took some time for a team to pick him up, and even when the Rockets did sign him, he only played in 10 games, and this is mainly due to his terrible defense. Last season, he went back to starting for the Blazers and started in 58 games for them with 15 points a night. He's being a great impact player off the bench though, which at this point in his career is the best role for him to fulfill. The Blazers also have Derek Jones Jr., but other than his athleticism, he doesn't really have much to offer. He can't shoot or pass the ball, and his only strength is his athleticism. But he is young at 23 years old, so hopefully he'll develop a shot in the near future. Then their final starter is Robert Covington, who's had a tough start to the year. He's averaging the least points in his career since his rookie season, and he's shooting very poor from the field at just 31%. I'm not sure what has caused this slump, but I hope he can get over it quickly and get back to being a great role player. So now with all the main Blazers covered, what are my predictions for them this season? Well, so far they've had a solid start to this season with their record being 8-6, and they're currently tied 5th place in the Western Conference. For their ceiling though, I could see them going a little higher up to the 4th seed with the Lakers, Clippers and then another team finishing above them. But then for their floor, I could see them slipping all the way down to the 8th seed, which is where they finished last season. But like I've said before, the Western Conference is very tough this season and it's definitely better than it was last season, but then with the same argument, I think the Blazers are better than they were last year. And the thing is, the 8th seed last year for them was quite a poor performance, so this year I think they'll finish the 6th seed. One thing I do expect from the Blazers though is a winning record, as last year they went 34-9 and they scraped into the playoffs. Speaking of the playoffs, they could have another really tough first round like they did last year against the Lakers. And so for that reason I'm going to have their playoff floor as going out in the first round, just as they could face a tough team. But then if they do make it out the first round, I don't think they'll get out the second round, so that's where I'm going to place their ceiling. So then I've got their floor as the 8th seed in the West and their ceiling the 4th seed, and then for the playoffs their floor is the first round, ceiling the second round. So yeah, now you know my predictions for the Blazers, and what do you think of them? And where do you actually think the Blazers will finish this season? Just leave a comment down below letting me know and giving me your reasons why. And if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and if you could like the video as well, that helps me out so much, and then as always, I'll see you on my next video.